Yeah, we can't hear you, Dee.
Okay. Now that should work. Is that okay?
That's it.
I don't know why
All
this
right.
thing still says it's waiting. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that.
Oh, you're okay now. So,
I am? Okay. Well, I don't see you guys, but I don't know how to, it says video preview.
all right. Well, so you don't see us?
You're
No.
probably not missing much.
And then it has a thing in my picture. Oh, I see something now, but I can't get rid of my picture off the big main screen. Oh my God. Anyway, well, we'll deal with it, I guess, the way we have to.
Well, we are all here. So at 6:32, I'd move to open and start the select board meeting. And so I will start streaming that as well. And that goes over to townhallstreams.com, much as we are also streaming live to YouTube. All right, so we've opened the meeting. We're going to start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I believe Dana has our illustrious flag. I pledge allegiance
to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
All right, moving right along, roll call of the board members. Marlo Herrick.
Here.
Dee Blake.
Here.
And myself, Dave Hemingway, present. So we'll move on to an announcements section. And Russ and Dana, did you have any particular announcements for this?
Not any, but I didn't have any particular ones. No. I guess I'll report on the town building further in the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I believe that I had asked for an announcement to go in here, which has shown up as the next meeting, the next agenda item of project status. And I was going to announce that in following meetings, not this one, that I would do a project status update at the beginning of every meeting. That is to be a very short, if something has updated or changed since the last meeting section, not a long drawn out. And if we're talking about it, I'll just mention that we'll talk about it later in the meeting. Russ, did you have anything else for announcements?
Nope.
All right. Then my last one would be to say that it is Municipal Clerks Week, according to the various calendars. So if you happen to see our clerk, say hi and thank them for doing what they're doing. You elected them there and they work hard at it all the time. Okay, so moving right along, public hearing. Actually, sorry, Dee and Marlo, did you guys have any announcements to make?
Oh, hello.
All right. So moving right along, public hearing. We have two of them. And so I will go ahead and open the first public hearing, which is false alarm ordinance at 6:35. The method that I intend to use for this is that the hearing item will be presented. The board's questions or comments will be heard and talked about, and then the public comment will be opened and then closed. And then the board will deliberate and take a motion and close that particular public hearing. During public comments, I ask that the public abstain from profanity, repetition, and unrelated topics, and limit themselves to 5 minutes of questions or comments at one time, allowing others to speak before contributing to the discussion again. That being said, the first one is our false alarm ordinance, and I believe that's being presented by Dana with backup from our fire chief.
We have the proposed false fire alarm ordinance. There are too many F's in there. I get confused what it is. False fire alarm. And this is proposing to incur a fine of $250 for false alarms. And I'll let Emmett speak with it. the first two false alarms, there would be no charge. The third through fifth alarms, it says 500 for alarm. So we're gonna, if it's, we need to decide what the amount would be, because I see it's conflicted there.
I believe it's an increasing amount per.
Oh, okay. As the more alarms, it goes up. Okay. So this is, the police department does have such an ordinance, and this is based on that ordinance. Emmett, if you wanted to say any more about that.
So the ordinances, there's more and more fire alarms getting put into people's homes every day, and then they don't take care of them. And then you're out there 2 and 3 times within 24 hours. So if you put something like this in place, instead of paying us to come out for a false alarm, they'll pay their alarm company to fix the problem. And that's what we're looking for. And then, so instead of paying us to come out, they'll put the money back into the alarm, and it won't happen unless they have an emergency. But so that's what we're looking for. I'm not pointing fingers to any one place, but we all.
Perfect. So does the board have any comments or questions on the proposed ordinance?
I do not.
I do not.
All right.
It seems reasonable.
Yeah, I do not either, other than to say that hopefully this can allow the town to be reimbursed for those that end up abusing our alarm calls. Obviously, we don't want to make an honest mistake get penalized, which is why the first few alarms have no charge. And to clarify, these are the first few false alarms, not the first few alarm calls. With that, I'll open the floor up to public comment. Unfortunately, it looks like just about everybody that's public does not have video, so I can't do like a hand raise or something. So please just be cognizant if you are speaking over somebody so that you don't. Seeing and hearing no public comment, I'm going to wait another few seconds in case someone thought they were talking but was muted. All right, seeing none, I will close the public comment section for the fire alarm, false fire alarm ordinance. And Dana, at this time, we need a motion for this, correct?
To close the public hearing, yes.
Okay, so I would accept a motion for that.
I'll motion to close the public hearing.
Second it.
All in favor? Oh, roll call. So Marlo,
Aye.
Dee,
Aye.
and myself, yes. And so with that done, Dana, what do we need to finish up the entirety of this?
I would suggest that if having heard, given an opportunity for input on this, that you may consider that when you move to your regular meeting, if you are going to adopt such an ordinance or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then moving on to the second public hearing on the agenda. That is for the Chadwick Hill Road emergency lane designation. And the same rules will apply for this public hearing. And I believe that presentation will be done by a combination of our administration and our road agent.
This was, we've discussed the possibility of adding Chadwick Hill Road as an emergency lane. There are, and Emmett, jump in if I'm incorrect on this, I believe there are 3 presently emergency lanes. And Emmett, if you would explain what that means, what an emergency lane is.
Well, what I usually use the emergency lane termination, all the wording for is like the backside of Pond Hill. We have that for an emergency lane so we can keep the water bars and keep Roby Road from getting destroyed. The emergency lane going down to Old Route 127 is so we can get down to our pump site and maintain the road getting in and out of there. So we can pump water 365 days a year. And then the other emergency lane is Pond Hill. That was a brook bed going down through there, and we got our water turns back out with the engineer in to keep the silt and all the stuff that you don't want down into Winnapocket Lake, right out into the boat ramp, filling the lake up. And out there on Chadwick Hill, there's just out there by the pit, the beaver ponds come across there. And it's just to maintain that a little bit. So if we need to get out there with a forestry truck or do something out there, that you can.
And, oh, sorry. It's still presentation, sorry.
So that's what I have, unless anybody else has any questions for me. Thank you.
John Pearson here.
Just a second. I'll be happy to take your comments in a moment. We haven't hit the public comment portion of that yet. So now that we've had the presentation, I'll move on to the board questions and comments. My first question for that would be, my understanding of this is that the driving reason is that we've had some issues up in that area, and we're worried about possibilities of fires or camp issues that we may have to rescue.
Correct.
Okay. And do any of the other board members have questions about this?
So when you say keep it open, is what you're saying, right? Where right now it's not as passable as you'd like to see, so that you can get up in there.
No, right now it is. You can get through there at the moment because they've got the beaver dams broke out and you can get down through there. But in another year, if the beavers come back in and do their things, then it's not going to be high maintenance. It's it's just if you have to. It's not going to be brought up to date to travel. Everyday vehicles.
Got it.
Other questions from Marlo or Dee before I go to public comments?
So this isn't going to be a real money spender, really.
Correct.
Okay, that's good.
Because we really don't have any money to spend there.
Okay, so now I'll go ahead and open this up to public comments. I know John Pearson wanted to say something, so please go ahead.
My question is on Pond Hill. It's been a while. My mind may have forgotten a few things on that, so I'm gonna kind of ask questions towards Emmett on that. I do believe that when we started that project on Pond Hill for the emergency lane, that was going to be a 2 or 3 year project, and to maintain things, and I thought was needed to go back on Pond Hill to do more work on that. Am I right on that, or am I wrong?
So I'm happy to have this particular question answered, but this is not related directly to Chadwick Hill, I believe. So I don't want to get us sidetracked with this public hearing for that question.
Well, my question was, before we start on another emergency lane, maybe we ought to complete the one that we started, is my point. So I do think it does pertain to this.
Okay. So to be clear, there isn't necessarily really a completion or start of an emergency lane. This isn't construction of a road. So just to clarify, this is a designation of a road path or way that we can get to someplace in the event of an emergency. So beyond that, though, I will let Emmett go ahead and say anything if you'd like to.
Yeah, so on the backside of Pond Hill, the town got us an engineer and they engineered the project. And we went over there, John, that spent a couple of days, whatever, 3 days, 4 days over there. We got all the turnouts coming down over the hill from Jerry Buckley's down over and got it back to where it should be. Peter Austin asked me where I was 25 years ago. Yes, Mr. Buckley called the other day and he had a concern that the Jeeps have been going up through there this spring and we might have to go back there when the mud dries up and fix them water turnouts. And to keep the water from going down the road right now, the road going up to the first house is getting lower than the ditches. And that needs to be brought back up, but it was, I think it was I don't want to give somebody the wrong date, but I know it was at least 4 years ago that we did do that project. And I don't, it does need a little love to bring it back, but it's not major like it was 4 years ago.
But that's kind of my point is with that steep hill, it won't take much to wash that out really bad where it's going to cost a horrendous amount of money again.
But
For a
I
little
think-
bit of a little maintenance will go a long ways to keep it from a disaster.
Yeah, you're 100% right, John. But what we're doing here tonight is we're going to try to designate Chadwick Hill as an emergency lane, but I'll go to Pond Hill and get that back into shape before we do probably anything down on Chadwick Hill. That's my plan. I haven't discussed that with the select board, but that's what I have in the back of my mind.
That sounds great to me. Thank you very much.
And just a point of clarification based on that exchange and comment is that designating Chadwick Hill Road as an emergency lane does not preclude or prevent or change anything for the other emergency lanes. They are independent of each other as far as how much maintenance may need to be done to keep them up to a reasonable standard for emergency vehicle passage. Are there any other public comments or questions? Seeing and hearing no more, I'll give people just another moment in case they thought they were speaking but are muted. All right, seeing and hearing that, I'll go ahead and close the public comment section of this. And does the board have any other questions, comments, or deliberation on this before we close the public hearing?
No, I think Emmett did a good job explaining things too. So did you.
All right,
Good to go.
so I would accept a motion to close the public hearings section.
So moved.
A second.
All right, roll call vote. Marlo,
Aye.
Dee,
Yes.
and myself, yes. So that concludes the public hearing portions of this. Dana, what is the best way to move forward with both of these now that we've held the public hearing portion? Do we make our decisions and motions now for that, or? No, you are muted, Dana.
I can-
Dana, you're muted.
Oh, I love this. Okay. You could, if you're ready to make a decision, or you certainly could put it on the agenda for another meeting if you wanted more time to deliberate.
I believe having held the public hearing, we can probably move forward with it unless there are objections from either of the other members.
No, sounds
Nope.
good to me.
Me too.
All right. In that case, I would move that we adopt the false alarm ordinance as discussed at this public hearing that was just held.
Second,
Roll call vote. Marlo,
Aye.
D,
yes,
and myself, yes. So the false alarm ordinance passes unanimously. And I would move that we accept the designation of Chadwick Hill Road as an emergency lane.
second,
Roll call vote. Marlo,
Aye.
D,
yes.
and myself, yes. All right, that concludes that.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and providing your input and comments. And now we will move ahead to the appointments section, which is our standard department head department reports. So go ahead and take it away, Dana.
Well, I'd just like to thank the department heads. We had an internal department head meeting with the staff and department heads last week. We reviewed our lengthy list of projects, which I know Dave is going to speak about later. I was very pleased that I was able to get the stove moved out and new stoves installed. We also got the gutters clean, and things were going great till the water pump gave up today. However, there's always something. And so I guess that's about it from my side.
Is the water pump actually has it actually given up, or are we waiting to hear about that still?
I'm waiting for Capital Well to come on Wednesday. I did have the brilliant idea to look at the fuse box and see if it had kicked out the fuse, and it did. And I was excited when I reset it, thinking, great. However, it kicked out again. And so there's something, hopefully it's not a huge problem.
Okay. Do we have any other updates from Russ and Dana, or shall we move on to one of the chiefs?
I think we're ready to hear from one of the chiefs. They're much more interesting.
All right. I'll let you guys duke it out. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Emmett. I appreciate it. Okay, let's start with the operating budget. As of April 30th, we have $198,182.33 remaining of the $296,430 budget. This equates to 66.86%. So that keeps us right on line where we should be. Actually, we're a little under, which I'm happy about. For a detailed report on what's been happening, the month of June was a fairly active motor vehicle wise. Arrests were up. We did lose an officer. Irving has left and moved to Florida, sold his house, and he's long gone now. So we are down 2 part-time officers. We have been actively recruiting officers, and we have 2 backgrounds that we are starting right now. One is a female officer, and the other one is a 27-year veteran of another police department. So I'm hoping that these will come on board soon. From April 1st to May 1st, we had 102 motor vehicle stops, resulting in $601.40 in fines. We had 8 arrests with 13 charges. A number of subjects were arrested on warrants from other police departments and courts, violation of probations, violation of protective orders, operating after suspension, reckless operation, reckless conduct, endangering the welfare of a child, and arson. The officers responded to 76 calls for service, animal complaints, civil matters, assist other departments, assist the fire and EMS, domestic violence services, lost property, motor vehicle accidents. We had 3 of those, motor vehicle complaints, sex offender registries, house checks, pistol permits, police information, residential burglary alarms. These were all negative, which was good, and drug activities. Lieutenant Mitchell and myself applied and took 2 online trainings for methamphetamines, so we can pass it on to the rest of the members of the police department. And the new cruiser is fully equipped and on the road, and we're just waiting for quotes on the lettering for the car, and it'll be 100% up to date. And that should do it for my part. Questions, please.
I guess one, just to clarify, both of the 2 new officers are expected to be part-time, correct?
Yes.
Steve, is the down 1 part-time officer affecting your overtime line?
No, we're just shifting schedules around. And the other 2 part-time officers have picked up more shifts, so that's making it just about even where it was.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Do the other board members have any other questions before we move on to Emmett?
No, not me.
All set, sounds good.
All right, Emmett, the floor is yours. You can talk
Okay.
about either one first.
Well, we'll start with the firehouse first. The numbers that I got from Dana for what money is left. It looks like we have $56,574.62 left in the fire budget. We're at 66 calls to service on when the bell rings. It's nothing to do with fire permits or doing home inspections or anything. The last couple of weeks, the calls have been down. We went and spent the night in Concord the other night covering one of their stations. They had 2 major fires back to back. So from midnight to 6 the other morning, we went down to help the city try to pay them back a little bit for what they've done for us in the past. We have 2 members that are taking the firefighter 1 class. They're almost halfway through that. We have 2 female members that are in an EMT class. They're about halfway through that. So that's moving right along. So things are going well at the firehouse, and I guess that's what I have for that tonight. If anybody has any questions.
One question, which is about the commercial laundry and dryer service. Do you have an estimated date when everything is fully ready to go and being used? I believe you've already been using the dryer for a while, but.
Correct. Tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, the folks are going to be there to put the inline soap stuff in. It's all computerized, comes out of a bucket. And we're meeting them there at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and they're supposed to have that all up and going for us.
And will that be the last of the?
That will be the last of the straw, other than washing first set of gear in it. So,
Awesome.
So we'll be able to do 3 sets of gear at a time in that bunker, pants, and jacket. So full sets. So
awesome. I know that's been a long time coming.
It
So
has.
Congratulations.
It has, and then it probably would have been up and going by now, but we just had to put some stuff on hold for a bit to get through some things. So, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I have a question for Emmett, if I could.
Yes,
Emmett, the dispatch service, as you know, we raised that this year in the budget preparation because of the increased cost. the bill came in and I noticed it's about $1,000 less than what we had expected. You don't expect anything further on that, do you?
No, no, the bill that I stamped and handed to you the other couple of weeks ago.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the bill.
For the whole year. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. No, that's the whole shoot and kabach, so. Thank you. So that's that on the firehouse.
Any other fire questions from the other board members?
Nope, sounds good to me.
Oh, good to go.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Highway. So let's see here. In the block grant money, we have $62,070.51 balance remaining. General budget. We have $128,044.64 balance remaining in that. We have been over on the Call Road and Roby Road, Call Road and Winnapocket, and got the ditches cleaned up in that and graded for spring. And we've been over on the Roby Road doing some major work over there, and the ditch going down where all that water comes down off the hill, and the ditch has been full of leaves for the last 3 or 4 years, and the water just lays there. So the water is running. We're getting that cleaned up. So we spent some time over there last week, and we're over there now today and tomorrow. And I ordered the pipes, the culvert pipes. That needs 4 new culvert pipes, and we're going to put them in as soon as they come in. And yeah, just stuff that needs to be done.
Sounds good. Are there any major expected things that you're expecting to start soon along those lines, or just continual maintenance?
Well, I'm still waiting to figure out, we got to figure out what's going on in Pillsbury Lake, because I don't want to get the tower all ripped over there and be all dressed up and ready to go, and then they don't come along to, you know, have a plan. Last time I knew, they hadn't even sent it out to bid yet. So somebody's got to have some communication with them folks down there and figure out what they're doing, when they're doing it, and so we can make a plan. So
Dana, can you
I will
request that from
contact them this week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, what did you say, Dana?
I'm sorry. I was telling him I will contact them this week. I
Okay.
thought that they had worked with you and had that a little further along. So I'll find out.
no, I don't have communication with them folks down there. So
Okay.
Who do you communicate with down there?
The commissioners of the
Okay.
district. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I think the select board and the road agent and Pillsbury Lake committee there, we should all meet together to discuss this, don't you think? So we know what's going on too.
I could
think
certainly invite them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. Maybe we request where they are and if they've done their bidding and stuff yet. And if they're in a process where, if they're in a place where they're just about ready to actually go forward, then I think we should probably all have that joint meeting.
Yeah, I think we really should. That's,
yeah, well, they could sit in on a monthly meeting. Well, if you wait too many more months, it's going to be too late to even do the project. So,
so Dana, please ask them, and then if it looks like they're ready to go, set up a meeting for all of us so that we can get this done.
I will do. Yes.
I did talk to Aaron, the engineer for the White Plains Road project, last Wednesday after we had our meeting on Tuesday. So she did send the easement out to Dana, and I got that from Dana, and I did pass that on to the Austins on Sunday. Told them if they had any questions to get a hold of Dana, he would be the go-to person to figure that all out. So yeah, so I did follow through with that and got a hold of her, and I guess she followed up with Dana with
I did get the one for another property owner there. I thought that we could circle back and say on Wednesday or Thursday to see where we stand with that, so we don't lose track of it.
yeah, because we need to keep the ball
Yeah.
rolling, and if it don't roll down the hill, we'll start kicking it up the hill.
Well, it's getting pretty hard pushing it up the hill through mud, so we gotta get it going.
Yep.
So Dana, what you're saying is you're gonna circle back with her tomorrow or the next day? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
There are 4 property owners involved in this easement. She gave us 2 and she had taken care of the other 2. So but I want to be sure of that.
So do we have the signed 2 from her, or is it still just a verbal agreement?
It's still, I do not have the signed 2 from her, which is what I'm looking for.
And once she's got these 2 signed, or look, it's 4 altogether, you just said, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Once they get that, what's her next step that she needs to do?
To apply for the permit from the DES.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did she give you any inkling on what she felt that was going to take? Or, I mean, is there any way that she can put it in as kind of like something that is kind of really important, as the fact that, the kids can't get on the bus on one side or the other? Is there any way?
She told me that she would
Emmett
be
needs to-
asking, for an expedited decision.
That's what I was trying to ask. Yep.
I can't tell you, Marlo, what that means as far as dates, but she did mention that.
Well, at least it's just not going into the general pocket. It's, we got a emergency and all that kind of stuff. It needs to happen.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's priority.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
All right. Anything further, Emmett, or other board members discussing roads?
Hey, Emmett, when you do your calcium, what's the equation for it? Do you just do it as you feel like it's needed, or is there a certain amount that just because we've been so dry and the dust is already flying? I just didn't know how that worked.
Yeah, no, you put so many gallons out. There is a theory, but usually what we do is grade up the roads, and then when you grade it, put it in, and it packs down good.
Yep.
But the way the weather was, the calcium truck, the tank goes on, still has a plow and a sander body in the back, because I wasn't quite sure. This week we'll get it changed around and get that done up. But it's going to rain. That showed rain tomorrow and Wednesday. Now it's showing rain for Wednesday. So yeah, no, we'll get that in and make that happen here.
Yeah, no, be in good shape. It's just, one of those things that sneak up, and boy, when you put that to it, definitely probably makes your life easier when things don't move as much.
Right. No, it does. It does. It works good. It packs it in. It keeps it from potholing out. And some people love it. Some people don't. I catch heck because when I go by some people's houses, they don't want it because they can smell it in there when they take a shower. And I mean, I've heard it all. So some people love it and some people don't. So
Gotcha. I just didn't know if you had in your mind what your recipe was, but I get what you're saying. Get weather related.
Well, in front of somebody's house, we probably use a little bit more than if it's a long ways, instead of just putting it out.
Yep.
And then the shady spots, the sun doesn't get in there, so it doesn't dry out as much, so you back off a little bit, but just yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of the towns all around us are doing it too. So it's interesting for all those years that it didn't happen, you know?
Yeah, and there's still some towns that are using old drain oil.
Oh, wow.
Well, we won't go there. Moving on.
All right. I guess that concludes our department reports. So
I'd just like to say one thing I neglected to say earlier to the board. As far as the overall budget goes, as far as the town hall budget and the other miscellaneous budgets that are in the budget, I don't really see anything unusual, but if you ever, I've provided you with the readout, please ask me questions if you have any. I do have a welfare case at the moment, which I am hoping to connect this person with some services that are provided by the state and or other agencies to help. There was an expense or is an expense in the manifest this run related to that. So I'm hoping that that may be the last of it. But we're doing what we can.
Okay. All right, then moving along to the next section, we go to old business, which brings up our good friend, the code inspector, life safety inspector position. Dana, I believe you have actually, well, both Dana and Russ, I believe you guys have some updates on this as to how we should proceed and what we're looking at.
I think what we're waiting is for the boards. We had talked to the board at the last meeting of the possibility of the town hiring the code life safety inspector as a part-time as needed employee, which would solve our issue with insurance because we could include him under the town's liability insurance in that case. Russ has updated the job description to reflect that this is an employee position. Russ, did you have anything you wanted that I'm not saying that you think is I should have?
No, the job description is in the SharePoint if you would like to review it.
So I guess we're waiting now for when the board is ready to have a decision whether we're going to go forward with this. And when that happens, the current life code safety inspector, we will make that transition. And again, the salary will be coming from the revenue from the cost of inspections.
Yeah, so to clarify it, there's no salary, correct? This is a per hour, a part-time position, right?
It is a per hour. There's no change in what we would be paying per hour or for any of the inspections. And as we've mentioned before, we do need to update our inspection fees to reflect something more realistic. We're covering them now, but we won't for long. The good part about this, it will help us keep better records here in the office of these types of activities. And it would also filter all the funds through the town office, through the books here.
Because people were already paying these fees anyways. Some were paying him, sometimes the town was paying him, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right, Marla.
Just so everybody realizes this is not really going to be a new fee.
It's not going to impact the town budget. It will be a pass through. It will show as an expense on one side and a revenue on the other.
If anything, it might actually work in our favor because we'll actually have the revenue and not just a budget line item for some of the things that haven't been getting picked up in the past. So this is a good thing overall and makes everything easy to account for, both for Russ in the land and other records, and for the accounting and auditing.
And I think it's better for the public as well. Information will be obtained much easier this way.
Mhm.
Agreed.
So I guess, what does the board want to do about this? Or does the board have other questions, comments that need to be addressed?
I think we should go right along and get the code inspector going. I mean, I know he works for us now, but we should get this all finalized.
All
I
right.
agree.
I also agree with that. One question, just for the point of clarification, I believe it's Russ that can answer this. The update to the job description was the only update that it would be a part-time position limited to 20 hours?
Correct. And you can see that on top of the job description. I replaced it contract position with part-time position.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Do we need a motion for this, or how do we start the new position?
I would appreciate a motion to establish a part-time as needed position for the code life safety inspector.
All right. Well, I would move that we start this part-time as needed position for the code inspector, life safety inspector, as we've already done and improved the previous job descriptions.
I will second that.
And roll call, Marlo,
Yes.
Dee,
Yes,
and myself, yes.
Yay.
One big
Moving on.
project out of the
Moving on.
way. All right. So we have a next set of old business, which is the bid opening. Dana, I believe you have something to say about this.
Yes, if you remember at the last meeting, I had showed you this is for a lot in the Pillsbury Lake District. It's map 10, lot 5, sublot 94. It's on Rumford Drive. As part of the policy for lots in Pillsbury Lake District, lots are offered first to abutters. There were 2 abutters to this property. I sent out the bid specs to them, and I have received 2 bids. And normally I would pass it to the board to open, but in the era of COVID, here they are. I have not opened them, obviously, and I would like to go ahead and do that,
go ahead.
if that's okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
The first bid that I've received is from Marcel Croto. He lives at 19 Springer Road in Hooksett, and he owns an adjoining lot.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
He owns an
sorry.
adjoining lot. No, but he owns, but does it have a home on it?
It does not. His lot does not.
So it'll all be joined?
Part of the agreement for this is that these lots must be merged.
To what he owns now?
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay, the bid offered on this, on Rumford Drive, the owner, and he understands it needs to be merged. This bid is for $3,200, $3,200.
How much was the back taxes again?
The total amount we needed was $1,225, which includes the taxes and the expenses that we'll incur for the legal work and recording, and I guess certified mailings, things like that.
Yep, got it.
Yeah. The next bid was received from Chelsea Willett. Chelsea, as you remember, has been in to talk to the board.
And she's an adjoining lot too?
That's right.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
she does have a home in her lot.
This bidding was only open to abutters.
Got it. Yes, all right. That's-
Person calling in with last number 830, you are unmuted. If you intend to speak, please go ahead. Otherwise, remute because it's noisy.
This just sounds like we're in the water.
This bid offered by Chelsea Willett is $3,000. So we have two, 3,200 and 3,000.
All right.
Does the board need any further information from our office?
I guess my only question is, we did, the policy and the way that we've been following it is to go to the highest bidder. That is correct, or no?
I think naturally one would go to the highest bidder. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the policy to refresh my memory on that. I don't remember seeing anything about the highest bidder in that, but let me do that.
All right. I'll quickly bring
I
it
can
up and
figure
look
out how
as
to do
well.
it.
So I have one question if I can.
Please.
Is the first bidder, is he an abutter on the same side of the road, or does he own the land on the other side of the road? Because I know that
He's on the same side, Emmett.
Oh, he is?
Same side.
How much land does he own now?
I don't know, but probably somewhere around 1/3 of an acre. I'd have to look to be sure.
Okay, no, it's just a small piece there. I was just
Yeah, it's a small piece.
Yeah, I believe this is a corner lot and there's
it is.
one
Yeah,
abutter on each side.
well, the town owns the piece way down in the corner, right on the peak.
That's what
No.
this is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, no, I was just trying to figure it out in my head. I'm all good. It's not my, I'm good.
All sales and sealed bids shall be awarded to the highest responsible bidder.
Excellent.
Yeah, last paragraph. Thank you. You found it before I did.
So that being said, it looks like we have our winner, which is Marcel Croteau, and I'm probably butchered the name, so I'm sorry. And do we need a further motion, or are the bids and the conclusions and announcement of a winner all we need to do to let you?
Yeah, I would appreciate a motion, please.
All right. So I would move that according to the highest winning bid of $3,200, that map 10 lot 5 sublot 94 be sold to Marcel Croteau with the condition of merging to the existing abutting lot.
Second that.
Roll call. Marlo,
Yes.
Dee,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right, and moving on to the next section of our agenda. That would be other town properties.
We have a few other town properties that I have heard from. One is in Pillsbury Lake District, and it is interest of by an abutter. And he recently just let me know that he's interested in doing that, and I will work the map up and also look at the decision from 2017 from the planning board and the select board if they wanted to retain the lot or not. So that will be coming up. And the other lot property we've had interest, and the board did receive a letter this week regarding 710 White Plains Road. We've had a lot of queries on White Plains Road. As you know, that the former owner must be offered the property first. And so I am working on what the cost would be in that, but I expect to have some movement on that at some point. We also have 18 Mount Vernon Drive and 9 Pennacook Circle, 18 Mount Vernon Drive. I would like to offer that to the former owner to see if we can sell that, get it back on the tax rolls, as well, if that is not possible, to sell the property to somebody else. And 9 Pennacook is the property that had a fire. The insurance has given me the figure that they would pay for that. So I'm going to be talking with the insurance company and our town attorney of how to proceed. Because obviously if we expended money on this, I'd want to be able to recoup it. So those are where we are with these properties.
Okay. And I believe we did a merger for another set of lots in Pillsbury Lake. Is there further to go with that before we put that up for the bid, or no?
We're waiting for it to be merged. And Russ, I don't know when we're expecting that to happen.
It's not done as of today. So I would say give it a couple more days, and if it's not done, I'll reach out to the registry.
All right, thank you. Any other town property updates?
No, not right now. Thank you.
All right. So that brings us to the last of our old business, which is the town meeting legal update. And just to help clarify this, from the last select board meeting we had on 4/19, I was responding to Tara's request to consult town legal counsel. We requested that Dana contact our town moderator and clerk for more information and the guidance that they had and received about town meeting, which was held on April 17th, and decide at this select board meeting if we needed to contact town council. Dana has done that and let the board know the results, though of course the board hasn't discussed this any further. So to recap, Tara had concerns about wording stating a rain date, lack of notice, and lack of access to town meeting, as well as a lack of posted information about the option to move into the school gym. This prompted her to question the legality of the meeting and bring it to the select board. Tara, is that an accurate statement of your concerns? And you are currently muted.
Ryan, oh,
There you go.
I finally got unmuted. Yes, that's pretty much exactly what I was asking about.
Perfect, thank you. So I'll lay this out to the board and then to consider and then discuss once I do. The 2020 annual report and the 2021 town warrant do indeed reference a rain date of May 8th for the annual business meeting, as suggested in guidance by both NHMA and the state as a way to inform people of when a different session might be in the case of a cancellation. However, this is not an if it's raining date, which is where the confusion seems to be, since cancellation requires an emergency. And for declared weather emergencies, that's defined in the moderator duties RSAs as causing the roads to be hazardous and unsafe after a National Weather Service warning. This rain date was chosen in case there were a particularly large spike in COVID, which has already been declared one of those emergency possibilities. A public congregation limit put in place or other emergencies from that preventing the meeting from happening. As has been explained previously, there is a notice period required to change the already set date and time. On Thursday, the 15th, the elections officials looked at the weather forecasts on the last day to notice a standard change, which all said Saturday should be a nice day, and decided to move forward after consulting with Police Lieutenant Phil Mitchell and previous Select Board Chair Chris Shadler. While the rain date phrasing confusion is understandable, this has been explained repeatedly by our elections officials at several select board meetings, and we had multiple official notices posted, including physical postings, the top and front page of our website, email notifications to those signed up for them from the town, and also several Facebook posts during the months, weeks, days, and morning prior to the meeting, going above and beyond the legal requirements to inform the public that the meeting was happening with full access. Tara has even commented on one of those Facebook posts. So the town meeting was indeed going forward on Saturday, April 17th, and noticed as such. Regarding going into the school gym, This was not an ahead of time plan. The school had been asked by the election officials to be able to access the gym in case of a need for chairs that people forgot to bring or bathroom use was required. However, since the turnout was of a size able to fit safely, the legally assembled town body voted to move inside. For evidence of this, I'll take and read a statement from our town moderator, as the select board has seen. Quote, "In my meetings with the school on April 7th and April 15th, we never discussed using the gym for the meeting. We discussed having the gym open for anyone who forgot a chair or needed access to the restrooms. On April 17th, I did not discuss moving inside the gym if the rain started with school officials who were helping us set up. The reason I voted against going inside was because we had not already discussed this, and I was trying to honor the relationship as guests. For example, not to have them clean up more. Minutes before the meeting started, Police Chief Adams, Fire Chief Bean, and I discussed whether the crowd was sized appropriately to fit in the gym in the event of an emergency. I related to Chris that this was an option if needed. That is why she moved the question when the rain started in earnest. The vote to go inside was seconded and approved by the voters attending the town meeting. This vote was legal and within the authority of the town meeting." End quote. So to explain why and how that's completely legal, we once again turn to NHMA, who's the New Hampshire Municipal Association, this time to their published document, 16 Things Every Citizen Should Know About Town Meeting, specifically sections 1 and 3. Quote, "Section 1, every voter is a legislature. Those quaint sayings about town government being a pure democracy are true. State law refers to the town meeting as the legislative body in RSA 2147. The town meeting is to the town what the legislature is to the state or the Congress is to the United States. The town meeting has all the basic power. There is no higher authority in town. But in order to have the right to participate, you must be a registered voter of the town. You must attend. If you don't go, how can you justify blaming anybody but yourself?" End quote. End quote. Section 3. The voters can always overrule the moderator by a simple majority. The moderator isn't a king. She or he is merely a facilitator to enable the voters to take orderly joint actions. It is illegal for the moderator to preside in such a way as to make it impossible to overrule his or her rulings. Therefore, people who say that the moderator rigs the meeting are talking through their hats. Many voters mistakenly believe that state law contains all sorts of complemented parliamentary rules governing town meetings. It doesn't. All state law says is that the moderator can prescribe rules, but the voters can alter those rules. RSA 44. Nobody can pull parliamentary tricks as long as the voters stay alert and remain aware that they can vote by a simple majority to change the rules to accomplish what the majority wishes to accomplish. End quote. So while the frustration and confusion around the alternate date being called a rain date is understandable, all the legal guidance we have shows that both the notice and assembly were legally and appropriately done, and that the move inside was also fully legal as voted on by the assembled and registered voters. For those reasons, and for the purpose of transparent and prudent use of funds, we can now discuss if this issue should be brought to town council, for which the taxpayers would be charged. Starting that discussion, I personally don't believe that's required due to the evidence and legal guidance we've already mentioned here. And Marlo and Dee, what do you think?
I think you're correct, Dave. 100%. It's all in writing.
I mean, I agree too. I just, this COVID thing throws a different nail in things. So, but yeah, no, I mean, you just read all the rules and the regs, so I agree.
All right. Being that this was brought up by Tara, who is present, I would like to allow her to speak as well.
Well, my question is, if what you did was legal, does that make what was written in the town report illegal?
I don't follow the question.
Well, it says in the town report, and you're talking to taxpayers who don't know, they don't have the 10 questions about, town meeting and things like that. They don't have everything that you just read from municipal, etc. They don't have that knowledge. All they have in front of them is the book that states that we're in a COVID emergency And if it rains, we're going to have the meeting outside on May 8th. So, because I kept looking online on the town website, I didn't see anything a couple of days before, and I haven't seen anything since on the town website at all about the fact that even town meeting was held. So my question is, yeah, the town report says one thing, and because I brought it up, municipal, you read their policies and everything, but the voters don't know this. They were never notified. And I understand that you went in because you had hardly anybody there, but that's because it was raining and people didn't show up because of a rain date.
Yeah, so like I said, I understand the confusion. I would say that it's not going to be an illegal way to put in the town report, because this is the way that had been suggested by the Secretary of State and NHMA in their guidance to our election officials.
General says it's illegal.
So why did you go in the building? Can you tell me how many voters voted to go into the building?
All of them, but the moderator.
Because I've spoken to 3 people that were there and they didn't even know there was a vote on it.
The only negative or nay vote was the moderator. All others were either silent or in favor of moving inside.
Right, because I'm guessing some of the ones that were silent, they said that they didn't hear because of, I guess, of where the microphones were set up and the speakers. They didn't even hear that there was going to be a vote on going inside. So they were surprised that you went inside.
Kara, I was there and I was sitting towards more of the back, and it was clear. I think where you're coming from is, and we always learn from different situations is, and I'm not positive I'm speaking this exactly correct, but you would have liked to seen on the the website, because everybody had to make this decision 2 days before, and everybody, how weather is. It's New Hampshire. It changes on a dime. And so I don't think there was anything, malicious about it. And I think everybody, and it was sunny before we even went down there. So I just want to make sure that you realize that from my point, I get what you're saying, but at the same token, there was no misleading in the sense that they had to make that decision 2 days before. They don't give you that amount of time to, and so if anything, maybe we can learn to be a little bit more, even more transparent. And I think everybody thought they were doing the best they could to be as upfront and with everybody.
And I agree, there was no maliciousness on the part of the people that were there. And I was not, I wanted to write a letter to you folks this week, but I didn't get a chance. It was not malicious of me to call the Secretary of State, and they wound up forwarding me to the Attorney General, who I didn't want to talk to. But I do my homework before I bring something up. I don't want to come on here and just, be embarrassed because I'm out of my mind because I didn't do my homework. So that's why I called Secretary of State to find out about what was written. And because I didn't see anything online posted beforehand, and I haven't seen anything afterwards that says there even was a town meeting. There's nothing on the Webster Town Webster website. There's no minutes. There's nothing.
So
I just think that the voters did not have the information to give them the access to go, because I was going to go. I took the day off and then it was raining. So I said, well, there's going to be a rain date. So
I'll help you out here a little bit. The minutes for town meeting aren't in the places that you might look for, say, for example, the select board minutes. The meeting minutes for town meeting are always done by the clerk. And so if you go to the town clerk area of the website, the bottom right there, meeting minutes are up for all of the previous town meeting years, including 2021. So that's available on the town clerk's portion of the website. As
Can you
for
kind
the,
of put that in there somewhere so people know to look at the town clerk's site rather than the select board?
that's been the way that it's been for years, and that's the way it's legislated. The town clerk is the one that's in charge of town meeting and town meeting minutes.
Right,
So,
right. Well, I couldn't find any 2020 minutes on there either. I found all the other years, but I didn't find last year's yet. But I just
so
want
if
to
you just go to departments and town clerk.
Yeah.
Then on the right-hand side, you'll see minutes, and it's listed 2021 town meeting minutes, 2020 town meeting minutes, 2019 town meeting minutes. And then it keeps going before that, but they're just not labeled as dated with the year.
Well, I just wanted to make the point that, like I said, I was not doing this in a malicious manner. I was doing this for clarity and for the voters that didn't get to go, and they didn't know, we weren't informed
Absolutely.
about it. And to have it go indoors because there were only, 30 or 40 people there. Well, there's a reason there were only 30 or 40 people there. So it was a mess. I guess that's the only way I can put it. And it's probably a once in our lifetimes that this had to be put down.
I hope so.
Had to be outdoors because of a COVID emergency. So I just wanted to, set the record straight. I'm just trying to do my homework and be there for the town and be there for the meetings. So I thank you for all the work you've done, and I appreciate it. So I hope, nobody's too ugly at me for just trying to do my homework.
Nope, the frustration is understandable. Lots of things during COVID haven't been as easy or as well communicated as anybody would wish. It is unfortunate, but part of the times, I guess. We can only strive to make sure that everything is done better going forward. I did want to touch on one other thing that you mentioned, which was the notice on the website. I do know that we had both a banner ad running at the top about it, as well as a notice in the news section saying specifically that town meeting was going to continue to be held then. I believe Russ did one of them, and I believe Michelle might have done the other one, but I'll let Russ talk to that.
You're in the public, you can't read.
So yeah, I had posted. Sorry.
Oh, Sarah had unmuted.
Yeah,
She is
so-
now muted again. Go ahead, Russ.
So I
There you go.
can. Oh, Sarah unmuted again.
I'm unmuted now.
Yes, you are.
Two things. It was posted on Facebook the day before, on the 16th, that it was going to happen. And 34 people voted at the school board meeting, which was inside on a $43 million school budget. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Go ahead, Russ.
So yeah, it was posted there, and I can get the dates that it was posted. I had that pulled up, but I lost it. I know it said 2 weeks, 2 days. It's right on the website because nothing's been deleted, so all those ads are still there. And
Yeah,
it shows when
they just don't show up after the
No, because we just
events.
unpublished them. But they still exist, and the dates that they were published on. So
So what I would ask you to do, and my last statement, is put something on there right now so the townspeople know that the meeting had already been held and they're not waiting to go to the one on May 8th, because the townspeople, they don't know. There's nothing on the Webster. I'm not talking about Facebook. The Town of Webster website, there's nothing that says town meeting was held. I didn't find anything.
So that's fair. Sorry, I muted Sarah and I just did it again. I'm sorry if you were trying to speak there, Sarah, instead of accidentally unmuting for the echo.
I believe Michelle has something like 19 to, I can't even remember, 19 to 30 days or something to finish the minutes for the meeting, to post them.
She already has them posted.
Great, sorry. But so that's out there. She does have a quite a big time frame to do that.
Mhm. So my suggestion to help address Tara's concern is that we do one of the standard news type posts that we normally do that states here is where you can find the meeting minutes and the uploaded YouTube video for town meeting.
I'll do that right now.
Yeah. Anybody have an objection to that?
Nope, that sounds great.
All right. Does that help, Tara? Does
It
that
does.
sound good to you?
I just wanted to make sure that the townspeople know that the town meeting was held already 2 weeks ago rather than show up this Saturday.
Yeah, that would be kind of shocking to the school.
It would be embarrassing.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so that concludes our old business. We can move along to new business. First topic is road opening policy. I believe we have, is it Russ talking about that or is it Dana?
Yeah, I can briefly talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So I was having a discussion with Emmett, and we know Emmett had noticed out in the field that some people were digging in the town's right of way without notifying him at all of what was going on. And also there had been times in the past where he has stated that people have put the road back together, but not done it in a way that really worked over the long term. So there were, I would say, structural problems. And over the winter it would develop potholes and stuff like that. So I think the objective here is to maybe create a policy where Emmett gets notified when anybody is going to be working within the town's right of way and get Emmett's permission for that. And then we have some guarantee that it's going to be put back properly so that the town doesn't have to pay to get it fixed later. Do I have that correct, Emmett? You're muted, Emmett.
He's nodding yes, though.
Yeah, he nodded yes.
For those that may not have video.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it any better, Ross.
So I just wanted to know if the select board wanted to move forward with doing research and creating such as a policy.
I think it's a great idea.
So you were thinking, Russ, that someone would apply to the town for work, whatever we call it, working in the town's right of way, and have it reviewed with Emmett and then go to the board with it? Is that kind of what the progression would be?
Well, I think that's ultimately up to the board, and we can work out the details more in the future once I've gotten some research and come up with how it's done in various other communities. And then I can put together a presentation, maybe discuss it further with Emmett, and then have more for you in the future.
So you're looking on taking the temperature of the board?
Correct.
Yeah.
If I can put my 2 cents worth in, if you don't let me, I'm gonna sneak it in somehow anyways. But I mean, the select board, if somebody comes to town and calls Ross to dig across the road, I mean, I don't think I need select board's permission. I mean, not that I can't tell them what's going on, but usually when somebody comes to town to dig a sewer line across the road or to do something, they wanted it done yesterday. And instead of waiting 2 weeks for me to get you folks' blessing, they're gonna have their job done and out of town by then, or they're not gonna do it. I think holding up somebody that's trying to make a living, I think that's asking a lot from somebody. So if the selectmen would leave it to my discretion, I think that would work. And then Ross and I and Dana work work together on that. They let me know what's going on, or I let them know what's happening. So so we're on the same page. I guess that's my thought.
Yeah,
Do you
so
have
go
oh,
ahead, Marla.
Yeah, do you have like an example of what, you know, do you have like a small, just so I can kind of totally understand. I get it. Nobody wants to see somebody come
So-
dig up what you've just done, and especially
So
town land.
if somebody comes to town and they own a field on one side of the house,
Yeah.
one side, they own land on one side and the house on the other,
Yeah.
and they want to dig a trench across the driveway to put solar panels on over here,
Yeah,
this
but
side.
but they're going across town road.
Right, correct.
Okay.
So, and then we do have cases in town where
And that
There's
example
whole-
has happened in town.
there's homes on one side of the street. They put a septic system line under the street to pump it up on the other side of the street. And then you get a bow, or the folks, there's a lot of that. I mean, and then the folks are gonna do major digging when they put all that power line stuff in down on Deer Meadow Road. You can see where it's all marked out, and it gives us something to fall back onto. So I'm not against somebody doing a project,
Right.
but the material needs to be put back in, and it needs to be put back in the right tar and the right layers and the right compact in all that. That I don't want to hold up a working man or a working woman or somebody that's making progress. I just want to see it's done right for the townsfolk.
Well, and the way I kind of look at it, and I'm still learning all the rules and regulations myself, is there seems to be more rules and regulations for a driveway permit than if somebody wants to dig a hole across, you know, and they could put back inferior product, which then can create divots and potholes, and then you're supposed to come along, or us as taxpayers need to pay for that to be fixed. So yeah, right.
Yeah,
And that's what
correct.
you're talking about, where right now there's no, we have nothing as a town. There's no policy in place to state that, okay, Joe Schmo's going to dig across the street, and well, he's just going to take some sand fill from next door and throw it in the hole and not even cover it again with, like, you know, the proper materials, so that the road for all the taxpayers to go over does not, you know, is adequate, or the rules that you even follow when you do any repair to the town rules.
Right, and they got the $50 in their pocket, and they're never coming back to travel that road in Webster. So I'm just trying to look out for who travels, you know,
well, it's really all us people that live in the town and taxpayers that will then may have to pay, you know, you to go and fix something that they did, because now there's a big divot or a big hole, or you know, things weren't compacted correctly.
right. That's all I'm trying to do. Not hold anybody up, just make sure it's replaced. I don't need another thing to do, but it's part of it needs to be done.
Well,
Right.
and in all honesty, still, there's more rules and regulations for somebody that's putting in their driveway than there is for this guy that could go across a town road.
Correct.
To me, that's what I'm hearing and seeing, and that doesn't really sound like that's fair or correct in my mind to the taxpayers of this town.
Yeah, so I want to point out that there's kind of two different categories here. And I don't want to go into too many details, because this is just what I'm thinking based on the examples that have been given, and some that we've run into recently. For example, the solar field across the street, that's a project that someone is planning and working on for a while before it happens. And so I think submit a thing and wait for whether it's select board or Emmett or both, or whatever, you know, whatever the process is. If that takes some time, or until the next select board meeting, as long as we're meeting every 2 weeks, that's actually probably somewhat reasonable, because you don't just call someone to do something without proper permits, at least hopefully. The second is, of course, it's different if it's an emergency. And so, for example, I know down in Pillsbury Lake, they operate as a utility, so they're under a little bit different rules. But if there's a water leak under the road, they're digging into the road to replace that, and that of course can't wait 2 weeks. So I think that in my view, the research makes sense to go do, but we should also keep in mind that one size doesn't necessarily fit all accesses to the road. And what do you two think for having Russ looked into this more?
What do you mean by one size doesn't fit all? I think you're saying that case it's an emergency, or if there's different reasons, but that would have to be kind of listed to what everybody in this world thinks different things are more emergency than other,
Yeah.
So,
Well, for example, if we don't have it here, but let's say that there's buried power lines under the road from the utility. That if that's causing 3 or 4 people to not have power, that would probably be considered an emergency. But if it's one person not getting their solar power, but they still have power and everything's functioning fine otherwise, that's probably not an emergency. Just as kind of a delineation, obviously we would need some kind of language, and I'm not pretending to say what is and isn't. My point is that part of the research should also include that one general policy of we're going to do this and get it passed by the select board, or we're going to do this and the road agent has to okay it, et cetera, is probably not going to work in every case. So we should be looking at that as well.
I think the big thing out of this is whatever somebody does, that they put it back, just like when we will travel on a class 6 road or fix it up, or to do a logging job, you have to put it back in the like condition, if not better. So there should be some kind of language that happens with that. There again, like I said, you don't want somebody to be just putting in, bony sand fill from down the road, because we have no right to tell them they can't. And in every utility, emergency or not, should not just have the right to do whatever they want once they dig it up to put it back into place. It should be put back in like condition, if not better.
Yeah, so utilities actually have RSAs saying like condition or better.
Yeah.
But that, of course, doesn't apply to everything in every one, or necessarily municipalities. So that's just my point, that we'll have to look at those things when we actually consider the final ordinance or policy.
Right. And another thing you have to think about is, like you said, there's no power underground in Webster. There's no gas. Okay. There is some telephone here, there, and everywhere, but mostly that's on dirt roads. But it's just the everyday whatevers when they construction people that we don't have to worry about the utilities because there is none.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's
well, we have them with Pillsbury Lake. That's why I bring that up, because they have
Pillsbury
water
Lake people do call. They call me before they dig, and they call the police department. It's the way it's been. It's been that way for years. And the 2 gentlemen that they have down at Pillsbury Lake now doing their work, they've been fantastic. And actually, I took them down a load of gravel the other day because they're starting to do things right. They called and needed a load of gravel on the private side of me, and I took them down a load. But so I've been working with them folks ever since Bob Lake got done down there. And Bob used to call me, or call Phil, or the police station. So the Pillsbury Lake stuff isn't an issue.
Okay, I'm not saying that it is an issue the way that it's currently been. I'm just saying that we need to keep in mind things of that nature when we craft the policy or ordinance, so that it doesn't cause a problem for things like that, but does take care of what we need it to take care of. So Marlo and Dee, do you both agree that we should have Russ start looking into this?
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's only fair to the taxpayers, for sure.
I agree. That sounds pretty good. All right. So moving on, we have new business commercial exemption request for 299 Battle Street. Is this Russ or Dana?
This
Be
is-
Russ, yeah.
Russ, okay.
So I have received a request for a commercial exemption for the Faxons. They would like to start I think it's a custom cabinetry, furniture, and woodworking store. On their property, they have an old farm supply building that's not being used, and they would like to convert that into the shop. However, in order to go to the ZBA for a commercial exception, they need to first be denied by the select board. That's part of the procedures. And then once that denial is made, we can send them over there for their case.
Wait, say that again. We would have to deny it for them to go over to ZBA?
Correct, because it's
Or-
against the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
So we're not
But
zoning.
we don't get to say that it shouldn't have to because it was already a place of business before. We would have to deny it?
Correct. That is my understanding, because I was not sure about it myself. So I talked to the previous land use coordinator, and because it is against the zoning ordinance, which was voted at town meeting, they need to go to the ZBA, which is how it's put in for an exception.
Even though it was commercial prior?
But is
Or
not
what-
commercial currently.
Okay, but it's not, it got changed
Correct.
when Cloverdale was there.
Yeah, when they left, the commercial exemption for the property left with them, is my understanding of it.
Correct.
And so other people are aware, yes, that is the previous Cloverdale feed, up the hill from the current Cloverdale feed.
Yeah, see, that's one thing I was surprised because there was a business there for years and years. So I didn't realize if he left, the commercial part went with him.
So based on that information, do we need a motion to deny it, or how should this work, Dana?
And
Or
we
less?
have to, right?
Yeah.
It
unfortunately.
seems kind of absurd, doesn't it?
Really, very, very.
That's why I called to ask about it.
But I guess
These
if,
things where you're like, oh my God, are you serious?
I guess it should be a motion, so that it's in the record.
And then
so
we
that-
have to draft a letter, and the select board has to sign it. And that goes in with their application to the ZBA.
And
Okay.
do they understand this is how it has to go?
Yep, I've talked to Stephanie on the phone. I believe she's in the meeting about this because she was asking the same questions and I had them myself, which is why I reached out to former staff to get a better idea of how this works. But it's part of the administrative process, the way it's been written. So this is the way it needs to move forward.
Since one of those members is here, I will simply say, I considered getting the property at one point and thought there was too much work for me to bother going into to try and do it. So good luck and congratulations if you've actually done it. Yeah, so.
They've done a beautiful job up there, Dave. It looks great.
Thank you.
It's unreal. It's unreal. He's taken
awesome.
that place and turned it inside out. I mean, that place is just immaculate. Them folks, they upgraded Webster above and beyond. Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you.
And this is a really hard thing because anyway.
So
we understand it has to be denied and then go there again. I don't know why, but we understand it.
Yep, we'll go through the motions and we appreciate your patience. So thank you.
So I'll, granted, we have Craig here from the planning board, and so maybe he'll correct me. But I believe the answer to that is that because our zoning ordinance does not include a commercial zone, and this is considered a agriculture residential zone, anything outside of that must be an exception. And because it was voted in at town meeting, select board needs to follow the town meeting side of that zoning ordinance. And so we
Correct.
have to say no due to the town ordinance. Craig, did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely. Got it right.
Thank you. So I would make a motion that due to the zoning ordinance, that we deny the commercial exemption request for 299 Battle Street and refer them to the ZBA.
Oh, I will second it.
Okay, roll call vote. Marlo,
Oh, gosh, this is the hardest one I've had to do yet.
It doesn't make sense really,
No.
guys, but
All right, well, wish you luck, and I have to say yes, but you'll get it.
and D,
yes.
and myself, yes. So. So we apologize for saying no, saying yes to say no to move
Yes,
you along
we
in the
do.
process, but good luck.
David, I have a question. Can the select board write a letter to the ZBA and say that we do, or if we do, I certainly think that'd be a great business there. So that we support that, no matter what we had to say today.
That I don't know. I think our correspondence has to say that this was denied due to the zoning ordinance. I don't know about anything else. Dana?
Yeah. In my
Sorry.
35 years, I've never had such a friendly denial.
And it's heart-staking.
I think the decision of the board obviously would be formal. Maybe another letter in the future could be appropriate, being that I think everybody understands what the situation is.
Okay.
So what did you just say?
I tried not to say anything. How'd it go? Pretty good.
We have an official letter that we have to send that
Yeah.
basically just
Yeah.
is a denial.
For now,
I think
you'd
this
want to
is-
do the denial letter.
I think
So
this
it's
is
been
something
on
we-
record. You're really doing them a favor by that.
Okay.
Strange as it sounds.
I know.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for coming. Please feel free to stick around for the rest if you'd like, and welcome to Webster and all of
Thank you
that.
very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Looks
right.
awesome.
So I will move along. The next new business, and thankfully we have Craig here, is the planning board member appointments. And is that Russ or is it Dana?
It could be me, I suppose. We have two residents who have expressed interest in being appointed to the planning board, Adam Mock and Susan Youngs. There are two openings on the planning board for regular members, and they have expressed interest in being appointed. And also, I believe there was some thought that perhaps right now David is the ex officio member, but it might be a good idea to have Marlo as an alternate in the event he could not go or something like that. So I have prepared appointments for Adam, Susan Youngs, and Marlo. Adam and Susan being regular members, Marlo as an alternate.
That would be, how is that supposed to be as a backup for me? Because I know that an alternate to the select board is, an alternate to the planning board is something different.
You know, I'm probably saying it the wrong way. I guess probably it's an alternate ex officio because it wouldn't be a voting position.
Okay.
Pardon me, sorry, I misspoke.
Can I ask a question? We get this nice thing, this volunteer interest form from Adam Mock, and I know who he is anyway, but it's nice of that. Who is Susan Youngs? Is she already on the committee or? No.
Susan Youngs is not on the committee.
We don't have anything from her
Yeah.
like Adam sent.
We don't have, that form came off the website, so it was really, it's a very good thing, and probably we should have sent Susan, in fairness to Susan.
We have
get-
one.
Do you have one? Oh,
Yep. I thought I gave that to you, Dana.
you gave, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I
Sure.
thought I did.
Just as a point, her name is Youngs, Youngs.
Yes, that's Youngs. I have that as that.
So that must be Craig. It sounds like his voice.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
Do you know who she is? I mean,
Well, you remember there was that house fire up on Little Hill Road?
Yeah.
It burned right down, and her husband was killed in that fire.
oh God,
And
gosh,
she lives
yeah.
up on Little Hill Road.
I knew that name sounded familiar, but I didn't. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, yes, she's a nice lady.
We've also she also chimed in for support of the conservation of the why can't I think of the word of the trails at the end of Little Hill.
Oh, okay.
To make
Oh,
sure
okay.
that
Great.
those remained open as well.
Okay. Well, the name kind of sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. So, but that's good. Thank you very much for that.
But I think what Dee is saying that is, if you don't know who, and I don't even really know quite how this all works, but as we all said, we know Addie, but he also filled it out, the application.
Yeah, right.
So you kind of know how long he's lived here and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how, I mean, I'm assuming they lived there for a long time up on Little Hill.
Yeah. Yes, they did.
Well, I just add a couple things here. We're really happy to have all citizens on the planning board, and it's open to everybody, and there is no qualifications. In other words, we take people regardless of what their opinion are, what their experience is. So, this is pretty much, in my view, a pro forma thing of just voting these people in.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah. So before we go ahead and do that, Craig, just to clarify, how many open positions do you currently have, and how many open alternate positions may you have as well?
The planning board is 5 regular members, one of which is the ex officio selectman. There are up to 5 alternates. We only have 1 at the moment. We're open to other people if they are interested in this. And the deal with an alternate is that if a regular member is not there, an alternate will be asked to step in for voting. Alternates can participate actively in any kind of discussion that's being held. Does that explain? Oh, and a quorum is 3 members.
Yep, a little more than half for the quorum. And so there will remain 4 open alternate positions. Will this finish filling all of the normal positions?
Yes, this will make a full slate at this point.
So if
Okay.
somebody wants to be an alternate, what do they do?
Just the same thing that a regular person does, just make an application with Russ.
Okay.
And we'll recommend it to the selectmen and you can approve it.
Okay.
And to be clear, these recommendations for, or I should say these approvals for the planning board that we're appointing are recommendations coming from the planning board. So they're basically, as mentioned, pro forma, basically.
I want to say, a term on the planning board is 3 years, but they don't all expire at the same time. I have talked to both Adam Mock and Susan Youngs and explained the situation, and I think they're good candidates, both of them.
Okay.
Now, Mauro, do you have any other questions about these candidates or how we can go about this?
I don't.
All right. And Marlo, since you were suggested here, partly by me, do you have any other questions about being the backup or the alternate ex officio? Or
Yeah, not at this time. I'm not saying they won't be coming, but yes, not at this.
please do.
Learn as we go, right?
Absolutely.
So
We just do our best for it. All right. So I think it probably makes sense to do those as two separate things. Do we need a motion for these, Dana? I think
we do.
I see him kind of nodding, even though I don't hear him.
Sorry, yes, you do.
So I would make a motion that we approve the appointment of planning board members, Adam Mock and Susan Youngs, as put forth by Craig Fournier, the planning board chair.
Second.
Roll call vote. Marlo.
yes.
Dee.
Yes.
And myself, yes. And I would also make a motion that we make Marlo the backup or alternate ex officio member to the planning board.
And I'll second that.
Roll call. Marlo.
Well, yes. No, weird.
Dee.
Yes.
And yes from me. So both of those are unanimous and passed. Congratulations, Craig. We will try not to flood your meetings. All right. Moving on to the last of the new business section is the equalization sign off. And I believe Dana's got that.
Yeah, this is an annual thing that the board needs to approve. It's basically you'd be signing saying that you've seen the equalization study and that you know that it's going to be used by the Revenue Administration to calculate the municipality's equalization ratio. I also included the letter. We just got that letter from DRA telling us the tax for tax year 2020 equalization is 80.8 and overall 81.5. And we're supposed to be within 10 points either way of 100. So as you see, we're 20 points off. I had a conversation today with our assessor, and of course, because of the house prices, the way they've been, basically every town is in the same situation. I have included the study. It's quite lengthy. I'd be trying to answer questions if you had any questions on it. But I would be asking you to sign the certification of the equalization.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, what were the rates comparable to last year? Is that how it works? Where they tell you each? I tried reading through that 50 pages.
Well, and I'll try to make it not confusing because I tend to make this very confusing. But a number of years ago, there was a push by the state to have all towns. You of course remember the Claremont decision, perhaps.
Right.
And so that's where it really started. That different towns had different rates that they were being assessed at. So there was a push that all towns would be assessed within 10 points of 100%. It worked well for a number of years, it's also why the town has 1/5 of the town reassessed every year to keep up with that. But the pandemic hit, and I don't mean to blame the pandemic for everything, but it didn't help. And prices for homes, as you know, have just skyrocketed, and they're selling for much more, according to the study, 20% more than what they're assessed at. I'm thinking that to get back into where we're supposed to be, I suspect the housing market is going to slow down at some point and come back more to reality. Maybe the prices will never go down and we'll just have to raise assessments.
But so more or less what we vote on today or sign off on is what even if we didn't agree, what would happen?
Well, this isn't a matter of agreeing or not,
Yeah,
because the fact, the figures are what they are. This is just acknowledging that you've seen the report and you understand what the final equalization rate is.
Okay.
Well, I sure don't understand the report, though. I was looking at it, it's like, boy, somebody spends a lot of time doing this.
Actuary studies.
I still don't, right, and I still don't know what it means.
So the short explanation of how that's used is that, let's say that I'm just going to say $100,000 property in town is assessed at 100%. For the purpose of the state, if our rate, is a 5%, for actually, I'll just use $1,000 because it's really easy. If it's, a 5% thing, they pay $50 worth of their taxes goes to the state. And if we never change our assessments or the values, fine, we're at 100%, it stays that way. When the assessments, when the equalization rate happens, it's to make sure that our $1,000 is the same as their $1,000. And so if we're at 80% and they're at 100%, that means that they're multiplying. So we pay about $60 instead of $50 per thousand. Whereas, of course, it can also go the other way, especially when prices start dropping. But this is to try and keep it fair within municipalities. It does not change any of the local taxing, because our per thousand rate is based on the approved budget, not the assessment values. So your assessment and your equalization may change along with everybody else's in town, but that's not going to change how much of our local Webster tax you pay, because it's still percentage based compared to everybody else in town.
Yep, I got that.
So do we even need a motion, or do we just, is this just
No,
something to
I
sign?
wanted you to see it because I'm going to have it in your items to sign.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions on this? All right. So moving along, that closes our new business section. On to correspondence. Central New Hampshire Planning Commission. I bet this is Russ.
No, this is me again.
Oh, okay.
This is a letter from, and it's they're asking for some input of where the town would like to see some traffic counts done.
Oh,
they've suggested talking with people within the town, such as someone like Emmett or the chief, with appropriate spots, up to 5 spots, to have traffic counts for future planning. So I was going to send that and talk to Emmett and the chief about this, but I wanted you to know about it first.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Well, I think White Plains Road would be a great spot, one of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a study that's been going on basically every year for several years, and this will have the historic numbers for those. Typically, we have tried to kind of move things around so we're not just always on the same road, though some roads are of interest more often than others. So you should take a look at the chart that's provided in this as well for what we just did last year, which I believe does include White Plains, but I don't remember exactly. I don't remember if it includes anywhere on White Plains other than at the Warner border.
Well, it does say west of Knights Meadow Road. And so maybe that's, since it was done, I didn't know what, I guess I should have looked at the top. 2017 it was done, or 18.
Yes, it's actually happened each year, including last year, I believe.
I don't see it listed in last year's listing, but at any
It did
rate.
not happen last year,
Okay, well, they asked us for it and said they were going to do it.
and they never did.
Aha, okay.
Well, how rude. Anyway, that's what, if the board has any suggestions of where they'd like to see some of these counts, And I will work with Emmett and Chief Adams about other spots.
Sounds good. I look forward to hearing their input on that and seeing how that turns out. Before we move on to public comment and motions and approvals, I noticed one other in here, which may be to go along with abatements, which is any hydro. Is that also to go with abatements? And an item that we didn't see on the agenda?
The abatement, I wanted you to see that because I'm just going to ask you to sign that. You approved this abatement at the last meeting, and these figures are a little less when the tax collector changed them a little. So I just wanted to update the abatement
the
for
campus.
Karen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so what is the hydro for?
I'm
That looks
sorry.
like any hydro. It looks like it's a tax type form.
Yeah, I think that's what we sent to Mr. Sansucci. It's one of the PA 28s. That's their version of the property inventory.
Oh, did I put it in there? Oh,
I think you might have, Dana.
oh dear.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
the PA 28 is like it's the same thing as the inventory forms, and we've sent all those to the utility appraiser. So
Okay.
I didn't realize I had put that on SharePoint. So we don't keep any secrets, at least.
And so just to move along and go back to one other thing with White Plains Road. I know you had mentioned easements and we've seen a copy of some of those easements come into town. Is that something that we need to ask you to send to and run by legal, or are we good there?
My question with any to do with legal is, should they be recorded? And I wanted to get them in hand before I asked you to go to legal about it.
Okay.
So I think for now, what she needs is just to have these signed.
And would it make sense then to have the motion for when you get them so we can move forward on this as fast as possible instead
Probably
of
would,
holding
yes.
things up?
Yeah.
All right. Any other comment from Dee or Marlo on this?
Nope, it's all right with me.
All right. So I apologize to anybody looking now and noticing it late, but I would move that we approve Dana's use of legal for the temporary easements for the road construction and replacement of the White Plains Bridge area.
Second.
Roll call, Marlo.
Aye.
Dee.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Okay.
Dave, I have another one that I forgot to put on the agenda, and it's approval of the purchase order for Emmett for $1604.71 for his cutting edges from Jordan Equipment.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take care of that in a second. Next, we'll do that with all of the other approvals and motions.
Fair enough.
So we do now have public comment. I see we have one public and an elections person left here. If anybody wants to say anything, please do.
I have something that I'd like to tell you folks that I didn't do on my fire report. The fire on Deer Meadow Road that you probably saw in all the newspapers and everything, that Nick Casello, the Concord fireman, coming down the ladder with the little girl, that made the cover of Firehouse magazine, and that magazine is worldwide. So I visited with him the other day, and yeah, no, that's one in a lifetime to be on the cover of that magazine. And it all took place in Webster, and the outcome today is a lot better than we thought the day of. So everybody's hopes and prayers pulled through on that one. So I just wanted to pass that on to you folks.
That is an awesome honor for him. And again, congratulations and thank you to you and your entire team for making sure that all of that happens for everybody in town.
Agreed.
All right. Were there any other comments?
Can I chime in?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Dana had mentioned that we have a welfare recipient in town. I understand it was a Webster resident. Dana, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I call them clients, but yes, they have to be a Webster resident. Yes.
Okay. Are they aware that we have a food pantry and that we're open the first Wednesday of the month? And that's this week?
Oh, thank you. I will make them aware of that. I do know, I did give them Peg Foss's information.
Okay, well, I'll be opening myself. I'll be opening it this week. So if they want to reach out to me ahead of time, that's fine. Peg's out of town.
Okay.
I'm there anyway, but just if you're in touch with them, please let them know that, 6 to 8, they're welcome. There's really brief paperwork to do, I mean, seriously brief. And it's essentially just signing up and bring grocery bags if they've got them, and we'll help them as much as we can.
Thank you. I appreciate knowing that. I will tell them.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool.
All right.
It is. It's a gift to be able to do this for people. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that and for all of the other services that you provide to town. Moving along, then we have our motions and approvals. So let's go ahead. We have I guess since we mentioned it, let's go ahead and do the one that we didn't have there first. Dana, what was that?
That was to the Jordan Equipment Company for cutting edges in the amount of $1604.71 coming out of the highway budget in the equipment line.
Highway budget equipment. Let me write that down so that I don't get that wrong. All right. I would make I guess before I do that, any comments or questions on it? I don't think that.
No.
Okay. I would make a motion that we approve the payment of the PO number 21-01 to Jordan Equipment Company, purchase order date 4/23/2021, in the total of $1604.71 to come from the highway budget equipment line.
Second.
Roll call vote. Marlo.
Aye.
Dee.
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right. And since we have them here, I'll go through the others. Payroll manifest. I guess I'll just ask, do we have any questions or comments on either the payroll or the check warrants?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. So I would make a motion for that we pay the payroll manifest of pay date 5/3/2021 for pay period 4/12/2021 to 4/25/2021 in the amount of $21,326.26.
Second.
Roll call. Marlo.
Aye.
Dee.
Yes.
And myself, yes. And let's see here. I would make a motion to pay the sum total of $41,788.71 with the accounts payable check warrant for check date 5/3/2021.
Second.
Roll call vote. Marlo,
Aye.
Dee,
Yes.
and myself, yes. And the last of the monetary ones here is going to be a motion for the trustees of trust funds. And I would move to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check for $4,810 to Fleece and Flower Farm LLC for 2 invoices, number 6388 in the amount of $2,650 for graveling work on New London Drive, and number 6389 in the amount of $2,160 for gravel work on New London Drive and gravel work for completion on New London Drive and Manchester Drive. Both invoices totaling that $4,810. These funds to come from the Road Preservation Expendable Trust Fund.
Second.
Roll call. Marlo,
Aye.
Dee,
Yes.
myself, yes. All right, that should cover those. And next, and the final set of that is going to be minutes. Let me go ahead and open those up. So we have 2 different ones. Did you get a chance to look at them?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So the first one is for meeting minutes, Monday, April 19th. And this one was, let's see here. Yes, this was our first meeting with Marlo, where we got to congratulate Marlo on being stuck with us. Anybody have any questions, comments, or corrections?
No.
Briefly scanning through it again just to make sure here. I think we are good. Yes. All right. I would make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes as written for Monday, April 19th, 2021.
Okay, second.
Roll call. Marlo,
Aye.
Dee,
Yes. Yes.
and myself, yes.
That was a double yes.
Yeah. It's getting late.
And then the short ones are Tuesday, April 27th. This was the work session that we held to bring Marlo up to speed on the various projects that are in town and to see how we wanted to look at prioritizing them in the future, more of which will be getting stated in the next select board meeting, most likely. Any questions, comments, or corrections?
No.
Nope.
All right. So I would move that we approve the meeting minutes for Tuesday, April 27th, 2021 as written.
Second.
Roll call. Marlo,
Aye.
Dee,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Congratulations, Russ. There were no corrections.
2 for 2.
Don't let him get used to that.
Yeah.
We're gonna start a calendar. It's been this many days since a typo.
Or we were going to get input back from the board on priorities of projects.
Mm-hmm. And I gave you mine. I believe Marlo gave you hers to start with when there. Dee, I thought you were filling out
I
the
was.
paper as well.
I'm working on newspapers right now. I'll get one. I agree with whatever you 2 folks like anyway.
Okay.
Well, I did give you an updated list in your packet with little boxes you can fill in for the priorities.
Okay.
You can just read it and put the number 1 through 5 with 1 being
Yes.
the highest priority.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
And so then we will go through that and look at it. And I believe that covers everything. At least that's everything on the agenda. Dana, Russ, or either of our chiefs or other members, do we have anything else you want to bring up?
I don't.
No, not me.
All right.
We're good.
Hearing nothing, I would move to close this meeting at 8:40.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a
Have a
great
great
night,
night.
everybody.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
later.
Right.